Okay, guys, so it's the last week coming up here. So, once again, we'll be doing just a quest on Friday. So, it's not going to be anything huge, but we still have some stuff we want to talk about. The Depression. I know this is not the greatest way to end the school year by talking about a depression. Although, as some people have pointed out, it's kind of appropriate considering our circumstances right now. So, we do still have some homework for you guys to do. You have some reading to do, pages 498 to 501. 498 to 501. And no questions right now, kind of throwing back and forth. There's a study guide right now that's part of the quest. Kind of thinking about that one. I'll tell you more tomorrow. I'll know more tomorrow. Today, you should have now notes for chapter 22. Those certain notes that I've sent out to some are already should be in your email, and you should have gotten them. And everybody else should have their own. So hopefully you got them. And we're going to talk about real quickly then about the Depression. The U.S. faces a downturn in the economy in 1929. Remember, we, after 1921, had come out of a recession. So this is going to be quite interesting. Now, I gave you some examples that we always haven't, or that we never haven't had a depression. There's been a number of depressions, and I listed a few of these here for you. And so the word I believe that you're missing is depression. The Panic of 1819, the National Bank closed, and that caused major financial problems. The Panic of 1837, 50,000 workers lost their work. And remember, this is, when the country only had about 8 or 9 million people. So 50,000 people, that's a lot of people that lost their work. And by the way, it lasted until 1843. If you can remember, that was the depression that was started by Mr. Andrew Jackson. By the way, 90% of all factories at that point closed. So, you can only imagine this feels a lot like the COVID thing. 1893, we had another big depression. 3 million people fell into unemployment. The Depression, okay, there's the Depression. The Depression hit during a time of rapid prosperity. Stock prices rose as more people invested. So the price of stocks rose as more people put money into the stock market. And now, not just some people are investing, a lot of people are investing in the stock market. In some cases, the stock market prices are inflated so much that they don't really have any real value. Some stocks were never probably something you should have bought, but because everyone is buying stock and stock is being sold all over the place, people will buy stock even though it doesn't have any real value. So in some cases, the prices of stock are inflated so much that they don't really have a value. Some people start buying on what is called margin. Many people start buying on margin. Buying on margin. Buying on margin. Buying on margin means that they're buying stock with loans. So the idea here that I have up on the board is the stock maybe you're buying is $4, but you only got $1 in your pocket. So what you do is you go down to the bank and you borrow $3. Now, on top of it, you're going to have to say it's got a 10% interest. You don't have to be this close. And so you're going to pay 30 cents a month, 30 cents a month for the interest on this stock. But you're not worried because you're like, I'm going to make so much money that I'm going to easily be able to pay back the $3. So you don't even worry about the fact that you've borrowed that money. Letter C, the key cause of the panic is rising interest rates. By and far, things are getting so expensive, people just can't keep up with the rising prices. Letter D, brokers try to get cash from their customers. Many brokers had overextended their buys. So in other words, some of them had also bought on margin. That means that many of them had gone down to the bank, just like their customers, and they too had borrowed money to buy the stock. And when stock prices didn't look so good, they themselves lost money. So many brokers had overextended their buys. The value of stock will drop in half in some cases. So like for instance, in our example here of $4, someone now has something that they paid $4 for, but now it's only got a value of $2. Remember, they've still borrowed they bought $3, but now even if they wanted to get rid of the stock, now the stock is only $2. So they still would have $2 of money that they'd have to pay back. Once again, put this in perspective. I know $2 doesn't sound like nothing today, but please understand, even someone like Ford Motor Company, one of the best paying places in the planet, at this time, you got $5, which was considered a lot, for one day's work. $5. So $2, that's a lot of money. That's easily a half day's worth of work. And that's just buying one stock. Most people wouldn't have just bought one stock, they bought a lot of stock. Letter E. Average incomes were cut in half. Average incomes were cut in half. Many businesses had shut down or cut their production. When they either shut down or they cut their production, anyone who was still there to help in the closing or in the less production would have had their pay cut because they couldn't pay them all that money when they're not doing that much business. Roman numeral 2, the banks. Many individuals and businesses failed to pay back their loans. Many businesses and individuals won't pay back their loans. That's a real problem if you're trying to run a bank. Many feared that the bank might close. Many withdrew their savings accounts, worried that the bank would close. And this was called a run on the banks, where just someone said, oh my gosh, did you know that our bank is going to close down? Oh my goodness, let's go real quick and get our savings out before the bank closes. This is called a run on the banks. Letter C, banks close for self-preservation. If you have ever seen It's a Wonderful Life, there's that scene where George is about ready to go on his honeymoon, and all of a sudden, all these people come running in to pull out their savings accounts. And then if you can remember from the movie, he's like, saying, hey, you don't need to pull all your money. And there was that one selfish guy that's like, yes, I'm going to pull all my money. And some of the other people are like, oh, George, I can only take like $1 or something like that. But literally, he's racing the clock. He keeps on looking up at the clock because he knows that if he closes before the end of the day, people are going to lose confidence in his savings and loans. So he keeps on watching the clock, and when the clock turns something, they close their doors. But you have to understand, a lot of people couldn't do that. So many people were coming and getting their money that some banks just said, okay, we've got to close because there's just way too much money that's leaving the bank. Roman numeral 3, if you look here, we have a chart that shows you, just kind of sums up all the different causes of the Depression. Some industries, one of these ideas, some of the industries failed to keep up with the 1920s. We talked about farming in the last chapter. It seems like we talk about farming all the time. Farmers couldn't keep up with the changes that are occurring in the economy. Mining is also having trouble. Mining companies don't know how to adjust to this brand new